Hello, everybody. Welcome to Michelle's Inspiration Hour podcast, where every episode unveils incredible life stories of our inspirational guests. I'm your host, Michelle, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. Our goal is simple: to ignite that spark of inspiration within you. Today, we have the privilege of introducing Shane Jacob, a man who's faced self doubt head on and emerged stronger. With over 30 years in the horse industry and insights from the top experts, he's learned to conquer the inner voices that holds us back. Shane is the founder of the Horsemanship Journey, blending personal development with horsemanship. As a certified life coach, professional horseman, entrepreneur, and author, he empowers you to tap into your inner horsepower, break through those limitations, and embrace your true potential. Join us for an enlightening conversation with Shane Jacob. Oh my gosh, let's bring him on. Hello, hello. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having me with you. Appreciate your podcast and your good message and the inspiration you spread.
Oh, well, thank you. And the same for you. And we'll get into your podcast as well, your show, because to me, I was going, oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff on there and such great inspiration. Okay. But what I really, this is something I'm always curious about. I think it's from being a teacher. I want to hear, I know that you were in the horse business for 30 years. Now, did you grow up on a ranch? What did your childhood look like?
Yeah, so I grew up in a ranching family in Utah. We were actually sheep ranching, so like
Oh,
range sheep, like thousands of range sheep. That's slowly becoming a thing of the past in the United States. But so I wasn't necessarily in the horse business, but I grew up. My dad always had a number of horses that were used in tending to these sheep on the range.
and I was going to say, because I think you really need to know what you're doing if you're not taught how to do it to take care, because that's a lot of work is taking care of the animals. Now, I've gone to the rodeos and I've, gone to several things, but I am not a rancher, but I really admire people that really dedicate themselves to, the animals and really taking care of everything. Now, how did you get this idea of, being a life coach and really using what you have done for 30 years? What kind of led you to this point?
Well, I'll tell you, someday you're going along in life, and sometimes it takes some of us longer than others, but we have
Yeah,
these epiphanies and we have these transformations and changes, and they don't just really happen to us. I don't mean to say
right.
that these things just happen, but when we go through something, when we get to a better place, we want to share it with the world. And so I kind of was in a bad place for a lot of years, or not so good of a place. And so
Mhm.
uh, it occurred to me that, particularly in the horse business, as I've been in the horse industry for over 30 years as an occupation. And like I mentioned before that,
Yeah.
I had experience with horses, but really as an occupation for a long time. And what I see with horses, the relationships that we have with horses are similar to what we have with people. Um, but what I see in the horse business is that a lot of times, one of the first things I was looking at was how we relate to our horses, in that we say, well, my horse does XYZ, or I can't get my horse to do this. And so I'm kind of working around what I can or can't get him to do. Or
Right.
I'm blaming my horse for a lot of different things. And I just sat back and looked at, uh, well, my horse doesn't like fly spray, so I never spray him. So it scares him. Well, I don't, that's
Right.
like, and so I look at how we relate those same things to ourselves, and it's a relationship just like it is with ourselves. And so the
Yes.
same things apply. And when really the big message that we began with, and we still have, is the answers are here. They're here. They're not really out there. If you're a horseman, horse problems are people problems. They
Right.
really are. And those all, not the problems, but the solutions, the problems and the solutions, they begin right here with us.
Now, when you're talking about, working and having relationships with horses, okay, and you were like with it for a very long time. So, did the horse, you say that we have relationships, what did you learn from the horses?
Yeah. Okay, good question. So, I mean, there's so much to learn from horses, just like there's so much
Yeah.
to learn in life. Horsemanship is just it's a never-ending process, just like life. I mean, life is just sometimes if I like to look at it as much as I can as just like this exciting thing is like how much can we get out of it? Because I don't know if we're ever really going to be able to even comprehend how much is available, the capacity of our brain, the capacity for joy, the capacity to feel certain feelings and just experience life. I mean, and the horse business is the same way. There are people that spend decades and lifetimes just studying the intricacies and all that's in horsemanship, which is a relationship with horses, is what how we define horsemanship, which starts within. But what one thing about horses, they're these magnificent creatures that God created, and we just look at them and we admire their beauty, and sometimes just being in their presence gives us a little peace inside of our soul. And we can go to them and they can console us for the things that we're sad about, and they can help us get through grieving and all different sorts of things. But one thing about horses is that they're excellent listeners. Now,
Yeah.
Michelle, people are listeners too, and a lot of times we kind of think people really don't, they might not really know what's really going on inside of us, and some people are more intuitive than others, and sometimes we like to think that we're not letting on all that uh, that's inside of us. We're kind of holding it back, and we're wondering what other people are actually getting from us. And some people, they're getting very different things from us, unspoken communications, right? People. Horses, I'm here to tell you, there's no secrets. There's none. They know it all. I mean, you talk about a good listener, they are the epitome of good listeners. They know. And we don't even have to, even when we do talk to them, I mean, it's debatable on really what they understand
Right.
of this our
Well,
spoken language. But
yeah.
horses know what's inside of our heart and inside of our mind. And that right there, the fact that they are open and that they accept us for what they are, and they're just another thing about horses, they're super forgiving. They are just so resilient and forgiving because we, as people interacting with a different species, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to have miscommunications, and we're even going to do things that were just flat wrong, that we regret, that we wish we didn't do. And horses, they forgive ourselves. So what's a lesson? Okay, a lesson is this horse is forgiving me, maybe I can forgive me. I mean,
Mhm.
he is forgiving me. I've made so many mistakes before. I didn't know. When I started in the horse business, I like to tell people I've made practically every mistake known to man with a horse. I'm not proud of that. I just did, I
Right.
didn't know. I
Right.
didn't know. So I've made so many mistakes. But the horses overall, in general, they're not spiteful. They don't hold it against me, and they come back, generally speaking, as much as they can, and they forgive, and uh, they forgive and let go, and they let tomorrow be a new day. I mean, they remember. Don't take me wrong. Not saying that they don't remember, but they're pretty darn
Yeah.
forgiving, and they're pretty darn listeners. So one of the lessons out of a lot is that I can forgive myself, number one, and really is
Mhm.
just to listen, to have it be okay what's inside me, number one, and to really to try to be the same kind of listener that they are to me for somebody else.
And and I'm going to tell you the one thing, and I really love that you talk about that the horses are really forgiving because they're not resentful. They, like you said, they forgive. The one thing that I've really worked with, because I worked with children with autism, and they would go to that hypotherapy and would get on a horse. And I think it would teach everybody, you know, what a horse just senses and knows that the child, is on their back and just is very nurturing. And then the child starts speaking, a non speaking child will actually start saying, giddy up, giddy up. And it's like, then you get to see what the child can actually do. And the horse is what brings it out. And like you said, the horses teach us something.
Yeah.
So I'm in.
That's a great example. You talk about hippotherapy, and that's
Yes.
any type of therapy that horses are used with all different types of conditions for therapy. And what you just described there is a connection. Okay,
Mhm.
what you
Right.
described in that example is a connection, and horses are so good at connectivity with us. And Brene Brown says that we as human beings we are hardwired for connection. And when we feel this, I mean, there is something there. I'm telling you, if you even just being close to a horse, you can feel some amount of this connection. And when we feel that connection, it changes us a little bit to the degree that we
Right.
can. And we can, you know, over periods of time, just like uh, we can change and improve the level and the strength of our connection with other people. We can do the same with horses, and that's a big deal right there. This connectivity, it's a big thing in our lives.
And I agree with you too. I think a lot of people will tend to connect more with animals at first because that's where the trusting is. And so I think that's where, because that's why we have the dog therapy, the therapy dogs that people take everywhere because that kind of soothes them and everything. So I totally agree that we can learn from any animal because they are so patient and their energy and good listeners. You can tell them anything and they don't judge and they don't talk back.
That's right.
Yeah, that kind of thing, that kind of thing. All right, so let's go ahead and talk, and let me see if I can pull this up. Let's go ahead and talk about your show, okay? And I know that you interview a lot of guests that talk about things that they have gone through and their behaviors and what they have learned. Can you tell me what your inspiration behind the show was and what you've learned from it?
Yep. As far as the Horsemanship Journey show, yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, it's I have the last couple of years and taken personally interviewed over 75 of the top horse professionals in the world, along with all types of horse professionals, including veterinarians and and also experts in human behavior.
Right,
So basically, in horsemanship, there's three main areas in order to achieve excellence in horsemanship. Okay, number one is your experience, is the actual doing. Okay, you have to do it if you're going to be good, so that's a given, right? You
right,
have to have the experience. You also have to have the technique and the skill, right? So you have to have the knowledge of what to do when you're doing it. And then the third element is we have to have the mindset that guides the other two. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we do it backwards. We just start doing, and then we try to figure out. It's kind of what I did in my life when I was a kid.
mhm,
Just tried to figure out, just went and did, right? And
right.
sometimes we experience life like that. We just go at it with no manual or no guidance or no mentor, and we just take on the world and hope it works out. And
Yes.
then we start to get knowledge and we start to train. And then what we come to realize is that how do, when we approach it with the mindset and the mental preparation and our thought processes correctly, then that when you combine, when those two are when the mindset guides the other two, um, then we can achieve excellence in horses. So our show has three pieces in each episode, and it was indeed an honor. And the biggest beneficiary of the show, of course, is me, because I got to sit in front of some of the
Yeah.
most outstanding horsemen and women and experts and motivational people that really experts in human behavior in the world. And it's ended up being a good asset that people can draw a lot of
Hi, if you are being inspired by this episode, please share with somebody that will also be inspired. We are here to change the world. All right, let's get back to the conversation. Also, I want to talk about, what you offer on your website because I saw this on advanced queen, if I can pronounce that right, coach certification. All right.
yeah,
So what is
equine.
all this about?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So right now, the focus of the horsemanship journey is three parts. Number one is that we help people who are interested in careers in the horse industry, in all different areas of the horse industry. A lot of people have there's a lot of people that love horses, and they think, oh, this would be my dream life. I'd love to do something I love, but I'm over here doing this dreary, this and that and the other, just trying to get by, and I can't break out of it and go live my passion of what I want to. So
Right.
we have a system to actually get you from A to B to where you're living, what lights you up when you wake up every morning. So that's
Oh, wow.
one thing that we do as the horsemanship journey. The second
Uh-huh.
thing is that we really address confidence with horses. So if you've had an event, sometimes you've had a wreck with horses, or not, or maybe you just want to rebuild or re-strengthen, or even just simply to strengthen your confidence with horses. With confidence with horses is something that every horseman or horse rider or somebody that experiences horses has a thing with confidence, right? We all experience a lack of confidence to some degree at some point. Some of them can be pretty debilitating if we've had an injury, or if they're just so big and scary, but we really want to do it. So we help people. We also have a system that we systematically take people through to help rebuild or strengthen their confidence with horses. And the third thing, what you pulled up, is this fall, I think we're slated to be releasing or launching our equine, which is the horse species, equine coach certification. So what we do is we have an advanced certification for life coaches that are interested in coaching people in the horse industry with their specific. We help them with the business aspect of coaching, and then we help them with specific problems that horse owners have, if that's their area of interest, and give them an advanced certification and help them with their business. So right now that's what we do at the Horsemanship Journey mostly.
I love it, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
And I think it's great, because I think a lot of people have fears, and I think it does teach you, to conquer your fears as well. So, um, when I was younger, I went to a ranch and I rode a horse with my friend. It was her grandfather's ranch, and I was tying the horse up. And all of a sudden, and he's an older horse, and all of a sudden his ears go down, and she saw it happen. And of course, my back is turned to the horse. And so the horse like bit me right on the shoulder. And I'm sure, he's telling me something, that's the way he was communicating with me. And I didn't know what was going on, but I mean, being fair skinned, and I had all this big bruise. So anyway, so I said, so, that horse is telling me something. Then years later, I took my kids horseback riding. And of course, they put me on an old horse again. I don't know what it is with me and old horses. And this old horse did not like me. Okay. Or I don't know. But anyway, and sat down and tried to roll me off of him. So I'm sure he felt the fear because of the experience that I had with my first horse. So, and I have so many friends that have horses, and they absolutely love them. And so, somebody like me probably needs to call you. So are those kind of cases that you deal with?
We deal with that and the owners of those horses, because what you're describing sounds like, the
Yeah.
horse needs some leadership. Horses can
Right.
also be, horses can behave like children, or
Mhm.
in a situation, there needs to be a leader. And if we don't step up and be the leader as the owner, horses are never good on the other end of this. When they're the leader, then people end up getting hurt just because of their, they're not made to lead. We're meant to be the leader,
Right.
but sometimes we really don't understand that how that relationship needs to be beneficial to both. It actually benefits the horse
Oh.
for us to be the leader as more so than him, and plus it keeps us from getting hurt. But
Right.
yes,
Absolutely.
any types of situations like that, we deal with all kinds of things as far as
I bet. Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. And I'm sure, it really helps people that, like you said, want to deal with horses and have not grown up with horses or with animals like you have, and that you're
Yeah.
able to teach them. Now, I know that you also have tricks of the trade of being an auctioneer as
Oh
well.
yeah, that is true.
So did you work at one of the whenever they're selling cows and the animals, were you one of the auctioneers at that event as well?
Well, at one time in the a long time ago in the mid '90s, I had a monthly horse sale in Las Vegas
Okay.
where we had a monthly horse sale, and then um, pre-COVID, we my auctioneer services company would mostly do farm equipment and stuff like that. But auctioneers are fun. Auctions are fun. They're exciting
Yeah.
and they create a
Yeah.
lot of energy and kind of part of all our culture. But no, I haven't specifically worked in a cattle
Okay.
auction, but we sold a lot of horses
Oh, right.
with the
Right.
auction method of selling, which is a fun way to do it.
You're just a talented person. Let me just tell you, you're just got lots of talents that, that are kind of like secretly hiding. Now, if I'm going to kind of change a little bit,
Okay.
if somebody came to you and said, "You know what, Shane, and you do this already on your show, but I need some type of inspiration. What can you tell me to get through whatever I'm going through? Just a general inspiration statement. What could you tell somebody?"
Yep. That's a great question. We Henry Eyring's a church leader, and he made a statement recently within the last year or so, and he said that as we go throughout our days and we interact with the people in our circles, unbeknownst to us, 80% of those people are suffering what they would consider a major life crisis. And uh, I believe that that's true. To
Mhm.
them, most people are going through something that they feel is a major life crisis. And Michelle, when I look at what's causing all this turmoil and what's going on inside of us a lot of the time, and and I hear people like Brooke Castillo, who runs the life coach school, say that in her 15 years of coaching, she says that everything boils down to a question of personal worthiness. Are we worthy? Are we good enough? I heard a lady we had on our show called Cheryl Green, who's an author, and she made a statement that says that she believes that every negative behavior is tied to a a lack of confidence. Let me say that again. Every negative behavior at the root is tied to a lack of a way that we feel about ourselves. You know what? I agree with that. And so I don't think that a good, solid, positive relationship with ourselves is a good idea. I don't think it's something that we should do to so that we're happier and have more joy and we feel better. Although that is true and it results in that, but I go a step further because you know what, Michelle, I believe it's our solemn duty. I believe it's our duty, and here's why. When we develop a positive relationship with ourselves, not only do we get those things that I just mentioned, we feel better, we get more joy, we give ourselves more grace, and so we have more peace in our hearts, but we're able to give it. We do not have the capacity or the ability, or it's just not there to be able to give to other human beings if we don't have it inside of ourselves. So I would say to you that if you're having a hard day, I'm telling you, you're worth it. We're all of the same value. Your value is immense, it's immeasurable. That's what I would say to you. Know that. Know it. Talk to yourself nicely. The way that we develop a relationship with ourselves is the way that we pay attention to your words and your thoughts. Your words and your thoughts that you say to us, please pay attention to them. Because when you tell yourself that you're an idiot or, oh, all
Yeah.
these self-deprecating humor or negative things about yourself, you're believing it, whether it's unconscious or not. So please begin with being kind to yourself. Give yourself grace because your value is immeasurable. That's number one. If you know that, inside of your heart and inside of your soul, that would be the number one thing that I would ask people to do, is just to believe that and know that it's true.
I love it. Well said. There's nothing I can say after that because it was tremendous the way that you stated that. Such an inspiring statement. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that we have not covered yet?
Well, no, I'm gonna add one more quick statement
Oh,
to
sure.
that. In my world, in my book, The One Horse Race, that's under construction and hopefully done soon,
Oh,
uh,
good.
I believe that right there, what we just talked about, is our view of our own self influences more of anything else in this life, and I think it's so important. But that's one thing, and there's a couple of quick tips of how to do it. Is pay attention to your thoughts and what you're
Yes.
thinking about yourself and your words that you're saying to yourself. The second thing is a huge concept called personal responsibility, which means not that you accept blame for everything that goes on, but whatever circumstance that comes to you, that you look at and you simply say, what can I do about this? Because when you look outside of it and don't take ownership, then you've removed your power to be able to progress and do anything with it. Those two concepts, now we're not, these are massive, huge concepts that we could just barely scratch the surface on, but and they're in order. Number one is to know that you're okay, and you're not just okay. You're an amazing human being. We're all exactly the same value. You're not lesser than. No matter what you've done, no matter what all the stupid, awful, terrible things that you feel bad about, that you have shame about, that makes you want to hide, you still, regardless of that, are this amazing equal to me and to every other human being. That's who you
Mhm.
are. That's number one. And number two, if you just begin to scratch the surface of this idea of personal responsibility, you'll be able to make it through and really progress in life. I see it and I work on it myself every day. And the takeaway for this is to begin is with whatever situation comes, when our tendency is to say, hey, that was this, or this happened to me, and that, and to be really looking elsewhere about kind of blaming and making excuses, or just talking about something over
Right.
here or why it happened and everything else. It doesn't matter. What matters in the moment is just to ask ourselves, what can I do about this right now? And those are my two big takeaways, and I appreciate you asking.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I feel empowered. You know what I'm saying? Because the way that you say things, you can tell that you're passionate about it. And it just makes me go, okay, I believe it. I believe it. Just the way that you stated. That is fantastic. Well, are you ready for the last question on the wheel?
Ready or not, here we go.
All right, let's do it. And if you don't know a question, say spin again, okay? So we'll see how it goes. And you'll be able to see it bigger once it stops.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Oh. All right. So, Shane, and this doesn't mean teacher, favorite teacher maybe in school. It could be any person that has taught you, okay? So, who do you think is your favorite teacher that actually taught you something so important?
Michelle, I've had tons of teachers, and I believe in mentors, and I go to all the clinics and lessons, and I mean, I've ridden with literally hundreds of different people I've ridden horses with and taken instruction from, and I believe about,
Oh, wow.
I'm all about education and moving on. But you know what? I'm going to narrow it down. When I was in high school, my wrestling coach, Coach Daryl Henry in Pleasant Grove, Utah, was the man that, now I've always looked up to my dad, and I don't want to put my dad's number one, but this Coach Henry was a close number two. And the thing, uh, he died last year in our little town of Pleasant Grove, and it was like a celebrity funeral in that little town. You would have thought that the biggest movie star died of the people that attended this man's
Right.
to pay respects to this man. And the thing that I gained from Coach Henry, okay, one of the big concept is to have what he called a fighting heart. And what he meant by that, Michelle, is that it was persistence. It was like, never give up. Like, you're not done until you quit. And this idea of this fighting heart that would, because in wrestling, and he was our wrestling coach, once your mind says this guy's beat me, it's over.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but that lesson I've tried to think about and apply over all the time since, and that's a tremendous lesson that man left with me and lots of other people, and I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, that is awesome. Where can they reach you, Shane? If they're going, you know what? I love him. I want to reach him.
We're all over every media that there is. I don't think that there's one that they're missing, and we're at the horsemanshipjourney.com.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Before we say goodbye, I found this on, I think it was on the Instagram or Facebook. I'm not really for sure. And this was a quote that I really liked. And it says, the goal is not to be successful. The goal is to be valuable. Once you're valuable, instead of chasing success, it will attract itself to you. So I feel like that just kind of wraps it all up with everything that we have talked about. So Shane, I appreciate you coming on. And for everybody else, I will see you next week to give you some more inspiration. All right, I will see you then.